incident at Punggol Beach. It was scary because I heard a growl, and it was an angry growl. And immediately I sensed fear, and my gut instinct told me to get out of the place, and which I did. So 9 years later, we're going back to Punggol Beach, and we're hoping to communicate with an entity from the Sook Ching Massacre, or it could even be the entity that growled, right? We'll be able to find out what that entity is. So I'm looking forward to this ghost investigation. So the history books, I don't know how accurate it is, but it says 400 Chinese males were executed here on this beach. This is something I will never understand, right? It's not just part of our history, but it happens all over the world. I was in Cambodia, I was in Phnom Penh to be exact, and I went to the killing fields, and we had millions of Cambodians killed for nothing. So the same thing happened in Singapore back in World War II. The Japanese decided that the Chinese were a threat, so they rounded up Chinese males all over the country, and 400 of them were executed here. Changi as well, Changi Beach, and another location which is pretty near to Changi Beach. If I'm not wrong, okay? If I'm not wrong, it will be Tanah Merah. So, I would first off like to say that I'm really sorry that you went through that terrible time that terrible time in our history, and I'm sorry that you were executed. You didn't have a judge, or you didn't have a panel that you could appeal. You could plead your case. If you're one of the 400 that were killed by the Japanese, if you can hear me and you're here, I would like you to make contact now. I can imagine, right? I can picture this in my head. I can picture this in my head, that you were lined up on this beach and you were either shot in the head, or they used their bayonet at the end of the rifle to stab you in the heart. So it'd be either one of them, and your bodies were just left on the sand, on the beach, and it was left to drift out to the ocean. Right, this is what I'm imagining in my head. Do you remember the day when bombs were falling on Singapore? You knew right then that it was just a matter of time before the Japanese showed up and all hell would break loose. Another way we can make contact, that I can talk to you, is using this device. It's called a K2 meter. What I want you to do is I want you to touch this meter. You can touch it on the top, on the side, at the bottom. I don't really care. The moment you touch this, it will light up, right? And then we can go with a yes or no question. If there's an entity here that would like to make contact, can you please touch the meter now?
I'm sure many of you have heard of the Ouija board from TV shows and movies, but I'm here to remind you that it's not a game. you should never ever attempt to play with the Ouija board. There have been experts that haven't been able to control situations, and there's this specific demon that's always been summoned, and he's called Zozo. I don't know if it's a he or she, but you can read up on stories online. I would just not recommend the Ouija board in any capacity.
I think, you know, not having contact with you on this meter is a good thing, so I'm guessing that you're not around anymore. Prayers have been done for you, and you guys have got good merit, and you're no longer on earth, you're in a better place. That's my hope. But there has to be a time when the suffering stops. And whatever happened in 1942, although it can't be erased and forgotten, I'm very sure that you would like to move on. After an intensive investigation where we spent hours using static cams and different means to communicate with these entities, we have got nothing. And I think that the place has been blessed, and these entities have moved on. They're no longer on Earth, and they are now in a better place.